Hello and welcome back to Back Corner Comics, and today we're going to be talking about DC's newest line of comic collections, and that is DC's Finest. So yeah, let's get to it. So if you're not aware of DC's Finest, somehow if you're not, I mean it's a very popular line as of now. It's been going on for I believe a year now, maybe a little over a year. But DC's Finest is a line of collections that will cover from the year, let's see back here, it'll cover from the year 1938 to 2011. So any DC published comic in that time frame has the potentiality of being published in one of these thick paperback collections. And so the objective of this is to collect older titles in an affordable way, much like the Epic collection that Marvel puts out. But something that this series of collections do that Epic doesn't is affordability. And of course, you know, I'm sure the Epic line is very successful and it's been going on for a very long time. So I think the cost of those have increased internally at Marvel, and I'm in no way shaming them for what they do because, you know, I know there's a big group of collectors who exclusively collect Epic collections. But here, you know, this cost me 20 some dollars. Every single book that I show off today cost me less than 30 bucks. Like I have not paid cover for any of these books. It was always 21, 22, and I think the most was 26. But what excites me about this line is, for example, Plastic Man. You know, the origin of Plastic Man. This is all of the Jack Cole comics that he drew and wrote. You know, he's the sole credited creator on this book. And, you know, is the reproduction amazing in these? No, they're not. But they are budget books. You know, you're not spending, you know, $60, $70 on these books. And I would also like to say, if you've never read Plastic Man, this is such a fun comic. It does not read like a Golden Age book. These stories were originally published right here on the spine from 1941 to 1944. Every one of these books have their the range of published comics within the collection on the spine, and you know we'll look at that. We'll look at all those in time. But these comics are a lot of fun. You know, Jack Cole was really one of the best Golden Age artists. I would say he's really up there with like Fletcher Hanks and like you know, a lot of those greats. But all the stories in here are very weird, as you can tell by the cover. Something that this comic it feels like an underground comic from the 60s. I felt that way about Fletcher Hanks stories. But this is really good. And as you can tell, the color's very good in here. The paper stock is like whatever. You know, it's like a glossy matte sort of paper stock. And, you know, that's not really, I don't think it's a big negative or anything. But, you know, like I said, these are budget releases, but they don't feel budget in terms of the content that you're getting. For example, this one is sitting at, you know, a little under 600 pages, and I think that's phenomenal. As of now, the Longbow Hunters is out of print. I've been trying to get my hands on that, so if you know where I can get a copy, please let me know down below. Now, one of the big things for me is Batman's DC Finest line. So far, all of these releases have been great in terms of the stories that they collect. So this is Red Skies, and I wasn't really familiar with pre-crisis Batman. You know, that is like a big question mark in my reading history. The Batman that I know is the black suited Batman with not the blue and gray Batman that a lot of people, you know, clamor for. Yeah, when I picked this up, I was, you know, slightly apprehensive. You know, I was excited because this is, I believe, considered Bronze Age stories. But I'm pleasantly surprised by the artist in here. You know, the first story is by Klaus Janson, And if you know who Klaus Janson is, you know that he did an amazing run on Daredevil with Frank Miller. So this looks very much in line with a lot of those Frank Miller, Klaus Janson comics, and I just love the use of Zipatone and Klaus Janson's line work here. I love this image so much. It really feels like Batman. But the biggest surprise for me, I mean, look at that panel. That's just beautiful. I bet the original, that's like pure whiteout. But the biggest surprise to me is how much Bullock plays a part in these stories. He, immediately recognizes that this Robin is not, the normal Robin. He's like, why is Robin smaller? It's like Robin's de-aged or something. You get some really cool villains. You get Mirror Man and Boomerang Man, I think that's his name. He's later in Suicide Squad. But I love the soap opera feel of these stories, and Gene Colan's Batman art. I had no idea Gene Colan did a run on Batman, but it feels right. It feels perfect. I love the way he draws Jason Todd, and this beginning, the first major storyline here involves, the red skies of Crisis slowly destroying the planet and all of these stuff, and it's like this great background atmosphere to this amazing love triangle-esque story where Batman doesn't know, if he loves Nocturna more, which is the first Nocturna storyline I've ever read, but he doesn't know if he loves Nocturna more or Catwoman, and it feels like this grand soap opera-esque storyline here. Catwoman gets hit by a bolt of lightning, but I never would have known about these stories if it wasn't for this collection of comics. And the biggest surprise, I was flipping through, I haven't read this whole thing, but the biggest surprise to me is there's a Bill Sienkiewicz drawn story, and I believe in one of the annuals here. I don't know if I can find it right off the bat. Maybe I'll find it while I'm making this video so I can show it off. But this is a great sort of, for me, it's been a great introduction to Bronze Age Batman, and we're getting that omnibus that starts it from the beginning of the Bronze Age, and I'm very, very excited for that. Something I do want to ask anybody, was this comic packed into a toy, like a Batman toy back in the day? Because this is very familiar to me, and so is this. This right here is very, very familiar to me. I do not know where I saw this. Maybe I was a kid and I flipped through a comic, or it came packed in with a Batman toy. I would like to know, because it's been like driving me crazy, because I would love to know where this is from, because it's so familiar to me. I said, when I saw this cover right here, I said, oh, if it has like archways in it, this is familiar to me. And then boom, I see these, and then the page flip as well. I have not read this story yet. I haven't gotten that far in the book, but as you can tell, the art is fantastic. And Bronze Age is my favorite age of comic books, and I think that's when stories started getting, I don't want to say mature, because I feel like that's not the appropriate word, but they started getting a lot more conscious of the times. Comics have always done that. I just feel like the Bronze Age doubled down on that. And for me, the standout here is Princess. Is Detective Bullock. He's a great character in these stories. Lots of great art throughout here. Lots of Gene Colan, which, I mean, if you're a fan of Gene Colan, I would say pick this up. But I think another facet of these collections is the fact that, if you are a Marvel collector, if you do not collect DC stuff, these DC Finest are the best way to kind of cheaply buy into getting into DC. I don't have the full range. I only have 6 of these releases. Oh, here's the Bill Sienkiewicz story. So that just looks fantastic. I believe this is Bill Sienkiewicz. If it's not Bill Sienkiewicz, let me know. But it looks like Bill Sienkiewicz. It has to be Bill Sienkiewicz, right? Illustrated by Bill Sienkiewicz, yeah. Which I had no idea that Bill Sienkiewicz did Batman. But, yeah, I don't have the full range of these, but I got a few. This is another Batman. I was so turned off whenever I saw that this collected Batman Year One and Year Two. I've never cared for about reading Year Two. I have not read it. I didn't care. But then when I found out that it collected a lot of other stuff that surrounded those two comics, I was like, oh, I have to get this because I know nothing about these comics, and I have not gotten to this release yet. But obviously, you have Batman Year One in here, and Year One is an absolute classic. One day we'll look at the artist edition of that. I think that's the best way to collect it. But you know, to read Year One alongside of the contemporary, Batman releases at the time, that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not too crazy about Year Two, but I guess we'll see whenever we get to it. This art looks great. You know, I'm really excited for the follow up to the Killing Joke, DC's finest. I don't have that one, so we won't be looking at that here. But eventually I will. I think this is Year Two. Yeah. I don't know. What the heck is Year Two about? I hear people say it's really bad, but Doug Mensch, oh, this is the famous Todd McFarlane. But Doug Mensch, from what I've read of the Red Skies release, Doug Mensch is a great Batman writer. So I'm looking forward to seeing what year two might be about, might not be about. Again, I'm a little apprehensive, but whatever, dude. These releases are great. This is fantastic. I'm excited to get into it. Now, this is another release that I've heard. Oh my God, I've heard so much about Peter David's Supergirl, mostly from Near Mint Condition. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know that channel. If not, obviously, it's a great channel that covers collected editions. Omar is a brainiac when it comes to all of that stuff. But, you know, when I saw that this was solicited, I was immediately excited. Omar from Near Mint talks about how this reads like a Vertigo title, and that to me already sells it to me, let alone the fact that you have Peter David writing it. Peter David is just one of those guys. I'm excited to get into this. I have not yet. I just got this in actually like 2 or 3 days ago. I'm slowly getting more and more of these. But so you're seeing lines that, comics that have not necessarily been collected in a lot of different formats. I know that there was a series of trade paperbacks for Supergirl, but from my knowledge and for what I've heard, not all of it was collected. So hopefully DC doubles down and these do well enough that they collect the entire Peter David run on Supergirl. And I believe Volume 2 of this is releasing sometime this month or next month. I will be picking it up and we will be looking at it. Hopefully I can finish this in time. But this is just so cool, and you get these, the dates on the back are highlighted when the story, the collection you're reading released originally. And then, like I said, you have these. So these look very, very handsome on a shelf when you have a few of them together. I've always heard, Gardner Fox is the best, like one of the best Golden Age, Silver Age writer alongside like Otto Binder. So when I saw that this was solicited alongside like, Gardner Fox and you have Joe Kubert, oh my God, like this must be amazing. And I've always been told that, Hawkman is like this really good kind of like detective-esque or like policeman-esque serial story. So I read the first issue in here and it was so fun. Hawkman, I think, is underrepresented in collected editions, at least from what I can tell. So to have, Hawkman collected in this way, specifically, Gardner Fox's Hawkman with Joe Kubert, it is very, very exciting, and it looks phenomenal. So it's giving these older titles a chance to really shine, and also giving them a chance for DC to see that they're selling. I really see a ton of these titles being solicited, every few months, and it seems like it's a very, very healthy line for DC. And I hope it continues to be healthy because I feel like we need more and more of these types of releases that are archiving these great stories because, for a long time, DC wasn't doing, such a good job at collecting their older titles, and this is a lot less risky for a business than, you know, an omnibus. So hopefully they continue to sell and do well. This I'm very excited to get into. This is a specific storyline that's been collected many, many times over and over, the Judas Contract. But again, this collects other things between and after the Judas Contract. And I know very little about the Teen Titans and these characters. So hopefully this is going to be a great jumping on point. DC seems to believe so, because this is the first Teen Titans DC's finest. And I know there's like a ton of fans of DC's Teen Titans, specifically the Marv Wolfman and George Perez, you know, run on the title. This looks like a lot of fun. Like, I mean, we can, you know. Do we need to say any more about Starfire? I grew up with the animated show that was on Cartoon Network in the early 2000s. So when I think about Teen Titans, I think about that version. So it's going to be interesting to challenge that idea. You know, looks really great. So this is not considered Bronze Age, I believe, because it's after Crisis on Infinite Earths. And there is a DC's Finest for that I will be collecting one day. I'm waiting for Volume 2. And I know that there's a few issues from Batman Red Skies that's in that collection. This looks like really good, actually. Like, this looks really good comics. I'm excited to get into it. All of these are readily available as far as I know. The only one that's hard to get is the Longbow Hunters, but that is releasing. It's getting restocked at some point this year, I believe in March, somebody said in the Omnibuds Facebook group. I kind of want to section these out. But yeah, I'm enjoying my time with this. I'm fairly new to, you know, the older eras of DC, and this is just such a fantastic way to collect these in a cheap, affordable way. I mean, everything here, like I said, cost me either under $30 or under $25, and I think that's fantastic when you factor in, you know, how much a lot of collected editions go for. Again, some of the quality of reproduction is not fantastic in here, but it's certainly worth what you're paying for. You know, you're not overpaying for, you know, a ridiculous priced hardcover. So yeah, I'm enjoying DC's Finest. What do you guys think about DC's Finest? Is there a DC's Finest that's not here that I need to get right away? If so, please comment down below. It really, I love the engagement. I love talking to you guys about comics. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys on the next one.